Hello and welcome to the quadrilateral episode of the Will It Send Me to Hell podcast, the only podcast done Japanese style. My name is Dalton, and joining me today, as always, is my good friend Michael. How's it going, Michael?
I'm just sitting here confused about everything you just said. Japanese style, I'm thinking we're recording this right to left, and quadrilateral, I don't understand. I don't understand what you mean by it's square.
Get yourself a thesaurus, man. Maybe you'll figure out what I'm talking about.
I mean, I understand it has the word quad in it, but just that doesn't make it make sense.
That means four.
Yeah, but quadrilateral means four lines. It means
right? We did them in a row.
4 lines?
We did them in a row.
4 lines of cocaine
in
a row.
What are we talking about today? What's the topic today?
We're talking about Metal Gear Solid, the first video game that we've covered.
The first video game.
The first video, in a way, it kind of is like the first cinematic video game.
Yes.
It's not. Metal Gear 2 is actually more so. So that's a lie.
Well, in case you're just joining us for the fourth episode, maybe you looked at our roster of episodes and you said this is the first one that's a video game. And
this is the first one that seems relevant at all.
Yeah. Yeah. Oddly, this is the oldest thing we've done, and it's the only thing people are still talking about.
Scott the world a bit, but
this is older than that, dude.
Yeah.
And you said I'm a bit of a gamer. So I'm going to start with the gaming episode. What are your thoughts? You played the game. So I play this game all the time.
Right. Yeah, I didn't grow up with Metal Gear Solid. Mm-hmm. I didn't. I had a PS1 when I was a kid, but it was when I was with my parents. So that didn't last long. And it's so I don't have fond memories. I never played Metal Gear Solid until high school.
Michael does not have fond memories.
I don't have fond memories. Period. You can end the sentence there. But yeah, so I don't have a oh man, what a great game. It's I played it when I was in high school, and then I basically forgot about it, and then I played it last week. So It's great. It's a masterpiece. I think everyone knows that. It's an amazing game. I have things to say about it.
Good. I think this seems a little pretentious or whatever, but I think it's kind of like the hear me out.
I'm about to be mad at what I can tell already. I'm going to be mad at whatever you say.
I think it is the video game equivalent
of Dark Souls
of literature.
Ooh. Okay. All right. Okay. All right.
If you're looking at the canon of literature in novels,
Oh, so continue.
Yeah. So there are books. There's
the Western canon.
The Western canon.
You're saying Metal Gear Solid would be part of the gaming canon.
Yes.
That's clearly true. That's absolutely
exactly.
true.
It's elevated higher than League of Legends. It's
not a high bar, but
I guess no, but it's elevated higher than, I hate to say it, Jak and Daxter. It's on a next level.
Yeah, okay. It's like a defining game. It defines what video games can be.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And I guess it was one of the you're saying that Metal Gear 2 was more cinematic, and I believe you.
Not more cinematic, but did it much earlier. Yeah.
This has to be the first one done this way in the West. I can't think of any that would have come before it.
Well, it's a Japanese game, but I know what you mean.
Yeah, but
Metal Gear 2
how many people had
MSX?
MSX?
Yeah, Metal Gear 2 did not really. Well, see, you're wrong already.
Okay.
Metal Gear 2 released on the MSX2 actually.
Yeah.
Which was popular in Japan and in Europe, where the video game crash never happened, so they still used PCs to play video games.
Interesting.
So actually, people did play it in Europe, although I think they played a butchered translation maybe, but...
Yeah. But in America,
where things matter, we did not get those earlier games. So Metal Gear Solid, in case you're unaware, Kojima... he got his start. Actually, he didn't get his start on Metal Gear. Do you know where Kojima got his start?
I know because you told me recently.
Penguin Adventure. Kojima made his debut in the video game world on the developing Penguin Adventure for the MSX.
Uh-huh.
They looked at that and said, man, he did such a good fucking job at this is not a joke. He said, he did such a good fucking job on Penguin Adventure. We need him to fix our game, Metal Gear.
Yeah.
And that was the start of the Metal Gear. It wasn't even his idea. He made Metal Gear.
He just wanted to make movies.
He wanted to make movies. So he made Metal Gear. He made Metal Gear 2, where he actually starts experimenting with making really cinematic. But neither of those games released in America. Well, Metal Gear released on the NES. butchered and like completely like it may as well have not released.
Yeah.
And Metal Gear 2 didn't release, so Metal Gear Solid is like seen as like the real beginning of the franchise in America.
It was for me.
Yeah, it was
I've
for
never
majority.
played Metal Gear or Metal Gear 2.
They're fun games. I'm playing. Just for context, I am currently streaming all of the Metal Gear games. I played Metal Gear Solid first.
Twitch.tv/YeomanVidya.
Yeah, that's spelled YeomanVidya. It's
Link in the description.
But it's so I played Metal Gear Solid first because it's an iconic game. I really wanted to play it.
Absolutely.
And then I went back, played Metal Gear, and I'm currently in the middle of Metal Gear 2, which is worth pointing out. When we're talking about Metal Gear Solid, we're about to go in depth about Metal Gear Solid.
We are.
Right? I think it's worth saying that the themes we're going to talk about, we should not in any way reference Metal Gear Solid 2, Metal Gear Solid 3, Metal Gear Solid 4,
Yeah.
5. There's no 6, but
Rising.
None of those should come into our conversation
Peace Walker.
for two reasons.
Uh-huh.
One, we should look at it kind of as its own work. Two, I haven't played the other ones, so I don't want you to spoil them for me.
Yeah.
I'm fine with referencing Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2 because those are obviously things that would influence Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah.
But Metal Gear 2 can't, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I may have just misspoke there, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, and I think in terms of like, talking about how this is like an elevated game, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. It's art.
It is. The rest of the Metal Gear whole franchise isn't quite there.
I would disagree with you, but we're not going to talk about those. But like Metal Gear Solid 2, if you're going to tell me that's not art, because I played that in the past.
It's
I have
not
a very
on
high
the same
opinion
level as Metal Gear Solid 1.
I haven't played it again as an adult,
Right, we won't discuss it.
so I don't know. But yeah.
If I were to say, it would make if we were to
A lot of people get really mad at you because there's you can point to like any one of the Metal Gear Solid games, and someone will say like, well, yeah, that's the best one.
I agree. Except the real answer is it's either 3 or Peace Walker. That's just my own personal opinion.
Well, neither of those are one. So.
But listen, those are my two personal favorites. But listen, if we looked at the whole Metal Gear franchise, if our podcast, the Will It Send Me to Hell podcast, were to talk about any one of those, it would make most sense to talk about one.
Well, yeah, because it's the most iconic.
That's what I'm telling you.
And yeah, okay.
Yeah. So, full disclosure, this is one of my favorite games of all time. It's either my first or second favorite game. It's up there with Star Wars Battlefront 2. And if you know me, that's high praise for this game.
Yeah, it's worth saying we've got two perspectives here, which is biased and unbiased. I played this. I have no childhood memories of this game.
Yeah.
Like I said, I played it in high school and then completely forgot about it, basically, and then played it recently. Dalton, I think you've played it multiple times. You played it as a kid.
Yeah.
You really enjoy it. So you different perspectives.
I'm a big Metal Gear fan.
Have you played Acid, the card game?
No, no.
I hear Decoy Octopus comes back in Acid 2.
Does he really?
Yeah.
That sounds cool. My first exposure to Metal Gear Solid was actually, those demo discs for the PS1 that they give out?
I never had any, but yeah, I know what they are.
I had one. It had Metal Gear on it. Metal Gear Solid. You could play all the way to the DARPA chief.
Oh.
I played it a million times. And then I got the game when I was like 10, 11. I got it in a box set with Metal Gear Solid 2 and 3. The Subsistence version and then the other version, like the Sons of the big versions.
But not the Twin Snakes version, which is worth pointing out.
No, not the Twin Snakes.
We're not talking about Twin Snakes. If you're unaware, there's a lot of like background. Metal Gear is a fucking ridiculous franchise in so many ways.
We haven't even talked about. Well,
we've hardly started, but like this is all necessary information.
It is,
to be clear. So, and if you're familiar with the franchise, you know that this needs to be set up. If you're not familiar, then it definitely needs to get set up.
Buckle up.
Yeah, but so. The original game, Metal Gear Solid, was later remade on the GameCube as Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes.
Yeah.
Which is not only a graphical quote-unquote upgrade, it looks way worse. It is also, mechanics are changed, and the story is changed.
Yeah.
Like fundamental parts of the story. I haven't played it yet. I'll probably play it since I'm marathoning all the games.
Yeah.
I'll probably play it
Twitch.tv/YeomanVidya
or something. But it's fundamentally a different game. So we're not talking about that one at all. Anything that comes up in that game that is not in the first, just pretend it doesn't exist because it doesn't. It's not a part of Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was important to say.
Yeah. Because some people, even like recently, I was watching like I was thinking about watching like a video essay about Metal Gear Solid. 'Cause I found this guy who like literally makes videos about nothing except Metal Gear Solid, and I was like, well, this is cool. He's gonna have something cool to say. I'm kind of interested to see his perspective.
Yeah.
And I go to a video and he's like pulling quotes. He's talking about Metal Gear Solid. Like he even has it says like Metal Gear Solid 1998, which I think is the year it came out.
Yeah.
And so it's like, oh, he's talking about the original Metal Gear Solid. I'm interested in what he has to say. And then he's pulling clips and like quotes from Twin Snakes. And when I started watching, I'm like, I don't remember that line or this line. Like there's some line where he says like, I have a twin. And it's like, that wasn't in the original.
What a stupid line.
Yeah, it's like, that wasn't in the original. I would have remembered that. And it's like, oh, this fucking retard is using footage from Twin Snakes. That's not the same game.
No, it is.
It's definitely not
different.
Metal Gear Solid and then in parentheses 1998.
Yeah.
But I digress.
So I guess we're the Will It Send Me to Hell podcast. We talk about the morality. So first of all, since this is the first video game that we're doing, we might want to say, do video games send you to hell? People are under that impression.
It's a good, it's interesting. Well, first of all, it's interesting that we haven't had to even discuss, do movies send you to hell?
Yeah.
Do TV shows send you to hell?
Anime.
Does anime send you to hell? Which maybe we should have discussed that one.
We might have said, yeah.
But it's like, because fundamentally video games are just seen as like a waste of time.
Yeah.
Even more so than anime. Because even some guy who like hates anime is like, I've seen Cowboy Bebop, that was pretty good. So I accept it. Fine. You get my seal of approval. But video games, like, that's a waste of time. Video games are an art form that are early on, sort of in their like life cycle.
Still early. Still early. Real early, yeah.
Even though so many like great masterpieces like this game exist, still early in in its life cycle. So it's not as well respected. And it's ironic that like people thought, oh well, if more people play video games will be more respected. And now, lots of people play video games. So, like, a huge amount of the population plays, quote-unquote, loosely video games.
Yeah.
But because of that, it's actually become worse because people are just like, oh, I play video games on my phone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm a gamer.
Candy Crush.
Yeah. So,
Bejeweled.
that's what I see a video game as. So, when you talk about Metal Gear Solid, it's the same thing. like that's video games.
It's like diluted the whole...
Yeah, it's actually made it worse. The more people that's played video games, the less respected it is. This is an elitist opinion, and I stand by it. I'm an elitist in every aspect of life.
You know what? God is an elitist.
The path
Not just
is
anyone gets
narrow.
into it. Yes.
The path is narrow.
So, yeah, sorry, we're elitists.
Yeah.
That being said, yes, video games can send you to hell.
Yes, but the same way that a movie can send you to hell.
No, movies. If you want to spend all your time watching movies, now it doesn't happen as often with movies.
I see what you're saying.
But you can ruin your life playing video games. I think more people ruin their life playing video games than watching movies and spending all their time watching movies or looking at paintings or reading poetry. I think there's a bigger danger with video games.
It's a comparison I've heard before where there are people who will spend thousands of hours playing even just one game. My brother. He's a non-stop fucking Final Fantasy 14 player. So it is common, and there are people who play a lot more even than my brother. It is common for people to like waste their lives playing video games. And the comparison that people make is like, you've never heard of someone wasting their life in an art museum. Wasting away every day of their life. They're in the Louvre, fucking just looking at. It doesn't happen. Mm-hmm.
Video games are a much more dangerous medium, and it's because of the whole dopamine response and all that. We don't need to get into that, but there are addictive elements to it. But just, of course, as alcohol can be addictive, doesn't mean it doesn't improve your life to have a glass of wine with some friends. Have a brewski by a grill.
I think the other thing is, in other genres, or not other genres, in other categories of media, films and shows, there are certain genres that are obviously worse than others, like by their nature.
Oh, absolutely.
But we don't really make that consideration with video games, and we should. And what I want to posit is that the MMO is the pornography of video games.
Ah.
You see what I'm saying?
It's I get it completely. It's a perversion of what video games should be.
Yes.
It's boiled just down to
pleasure.
Yes.
Exactly. Now that's not to say even MMOs can't have something salvageable about them.
People make friendships on,
There's that.
Yeah.
Although I question that to some extent.
They might be bad friendships.
Yeah. I was going to say, it reminds me of that Stefan Molyneux episode where the guy, I don't know if you listened to this one. I listened to some of them. And but some guy called in like, hey, yeah, so I've been pretending to be a woman on World of Warcraft for years, and this guy like wants to marry me, but like I'm a dude, and I what do I do? And he tries to argue, like Molyneux's like, you're a terrible fucking person, and he's like, no, I've been like having him like improve his life and shit, like I've been, and it's like, yeah, but you're a terrible person, but. So I question the friendship thing. A lot of times it's built on lies. You never see the person face to face.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But I was saying the thing that's salvageable about it, a lot of them still have good art, still have good music. I'm thinking of Final Fantasy XIV as an example of this. It has really good music. I hear that the story is good, but that's like saying like I really enjoyed the music and the story of that pornography.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I mean, if you find a way to rip just the music and the story from the pornography and leave out the rest, then sure, consume away. but otherwise, which I have done with certain video games. I'm a connoisseur of censoring pornographic video games.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you've done that. Yeah,
I've done that. I'm a censor.
Is Totono? Was that a porn game?
Yeah. So You and Me and Her, which is Totono, shortened this, the Japanese abbreviation, is a game that's like has an amazing. I made a video on it. Check out YouTube.
Yeah.
On YouTube, Yeoman Video. But it's a game that is pornographic. Like it has pornographic scenes, but it's different because it's not a porn game. You know what I mean? Like it just happens to have nudity in it, and I just took that out. So, in conclusion,
video games. Yeah, it does depend on the game, but as a whole, video games aren't gonna be sending you to hell.
No. Certain genres and types of game. The kind of game that are endless are the most dangerous.
Yeah.
So.
Or even close to endless. Just Cause 2, I wasted so much time on.
See, but Just Cause 2 has a limit, right? Like, you can play Just Cause 2 for hundreds of hours.
Yeah.
I don't think you can play it for
Skyrim has infinite quests.
It does not, Todd. I don't think you can play Just Cause 2 for thousands of hours.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Even like strategy games, at a certain point, you're just getting better at the game. And if you're playing competitively or something, it's a little different. There's some value to that, maybe. But dangerous.
Age of Empires 2.
Yeah. There's an art to Age of Empires.
There is.
Age of Empires 2 should be in the Olympics.
Yes.
Because have you watched it? It's amazing. It's more interesting than watching StarCraft 2, which is fucking boring as shit. Watching Age of Empires 2 multiplayer competitive is like, it's a work of art in a competitive way, in a sportsman.
I played Age of Empires for a while and I thought, I think I'm maybe starting to get it. And then I watched one of these, it's like, you can do that? What?
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Completely, almost unrelated.
So video games can be good.
Yes.
In fact. And look, I know, we haven't talked about Metal Gear Solid yet.
People are here like, what is Metal Gear Solid?
These are important steps we need to take to talk about the morality of this one game.
Here's the thing, yeah. If Metal Gear Solid is
First of all, what the fuck is this game? There's 1,000 things called Metal Gear Solid, or just Metal Gear. I don't understand. We got that one done. Our video is the whole... Oh, it's a video game. Gotcha. Is that bad?
Yeah.
Now we discussed
It's also like... Metal Gear Solid is like an iconic video game. It is It is like what some people think of when you say video game.
Yes.
So
it's either Mario...
Because of that... Exactly. But for like PlayStation... owners. Mm-hmm. This is like if your dad owned a PlayStation, you had a PlayStation that your dad bought for you. Yeah. When you say video game, your dad thinks Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So Metal Gear Solid is now
or SOCOM. or Rapala
okay.
tournament fishing, depending on your
if
kind
your dad
of day.
That's if your dad actually played video games. But so Metal Gear Solid is kind of right now, because of the first one we've covered, the first video game, and it's so iconic. It is like representing all video games right now. So we kind of had to go out of our way to establish some things.
Mm-hmm. So, good. Okay, done. We're there. I got a lot of topics to discuss with this game. I'm not really 100% sure where to start.
I think before we do anything, I think most people here who are listening to this have probably played Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah.
But
maybe one of the games. There's a lot of games.
There's a lot of games. But in case you haven't, I think a brief synopsis of what is Metal Gear Solid is worth saying. We shouldn't go through the whole plot, obviously. It's a game. It's longer than like a movie or something. But like,
it's full of twists and turns.
Yes, but we should establish what is Metal Gear Solid, what is it about at a basic level.
Yeah. Okay. So Metal Gear Solid, it's a stealth game, kind of. That's the premise is stealth. And should I talk about the story, I guess?
Yeah, the story, sure.
Okay, so the premise is terrorists. They've taken over an American base on the Shadow Moses Island in the Fox Archipelago off the coast of Alaska, and they have a nuclear weapon.
Yeah, that's basically, and you play as Solid Snake, who is going to stop this.
Yeah, you're there on behalf of the U.S. government. You're sneaky man. You know, there's lots of kooky characters along the way. You got Psycho Mantis. You got
Decoy
Octopus.
The DARPA chief.
Yeah.
Liquid Snake.
You have Vulcan Raven.
Yeah.
Warrior and Shaman.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, fucking every line of this game is just so good, isn't it?
Yeah, so a couple of things just about like what the game is like. So the dialogue is cheesy and amazing. The dialogue, how it's delivered, like the voice acting.
It's presented so straight. They sell it. Every line is
they
sold.
sell it.
The voice actors in this game.
Yeah, David Hayter being the biggest.
Yeah.
Most iconic. But
Christopher
all of
Fritz.
them very good. Is Christopher Fritz Otacon?
Yeah.
That's what I thought. Okay. Everything about this game is iconic. The look of the game is a work of art. And
it absolutely
they
is.
tried to like revitalize it later with a GameCube remake and just made it look way worse. And if you tried to make this game in HD, it would not look as good.
It wouldn't. If you haven't played this, you don't know what I'm talking about. If you're not a gamer, then you don't understand that when I'm talking about older, different. A lot of people say they're worse graphics, but more lo-fi graphics, like, oh, that's obviously bad, we want better graphics. No.
Yeah.
Because if this looked any other way, it would suck. It's such a joy to look at. There's so much charm to it.
There's such an artistry to how they made it. Like, it's got this low poly, like kind of grainy look to it.
Very grainy. Now there's an issue with the PS1. It was lacking a sort of chip to save money. I couldn't remember exactly what. I looked into why do things look a little shaky. And there was one particular element that would help things meld together that the N64 around the same time had. You know, that was the same era, but didn't have those shaky graphics.
Because PS1
it was just a money-saving thing, but what the money-saving thing resulted in was PS1 graphics, which are my favorite graphics of anything.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
PS1 is like, I think they're probably my favorite graphics.
I can't think of any graphics of anything that I like more.
I mean, you think about the big names of like Silent Hill.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think of other ones that are not
Medieval. I like Medieval.
Okay, well, I was trying to think of other ones that low poly style. Silent Hill is what really comes to mind, and this game.
Yeah.
Of just like nothing looks better.
Tomb Raider.
I didn't play much Tomb Raider, dude. my parents wouldn't let me get that. You see that chick's tits on the front?
Yeah, man. Rainbow Six.
Yeah.
The original Rainbow Six. Yeah,
we could go on for a while, but
do you want to hear something crazy? This is about the graphics, so this isn't a big tangent.
Okay.
So that game came out in 1998. You know, it looks how it looks, right?
Yep.
You haven't played this, but you've seen it. Metal Gear Solid 4.
Yeah.
Came out 10 years later. In a span of 10 years, graphics came that far.
Yeah.
Now think about this. Metal Gear Solid 4 came out 13 years ago.
Wow. That is crazy to think about. Like, Metal Gear Solid 4 looks like a game that could have come out a year, 2 years ago.
It looks amazing.
Yeah,
it looks real.
I mean, I haven't played it, so I couldn't say for sure, but I know it's realistic graphics, and it's, like, on par with most stuff today.
Video games fucking suck, man. like new games, we just haven't progressed at all. I mean, the Metal Gear Solid 4 also plays like a game made now. Like, we've just made no progress.
Well, yeah, because I was going to say the graphics just being higher fidelity doesn't mean better, because I think Metal Gear Solid looks better than Metal Gear Solid 4.
I agree.
You know, and that's why a lot of indie developers are starting to use like low poly graphics and stuff like that, because they're cheaper and they do look better a lot of times, especially if you don't have the kind of budget to make a AAA game. But this is kind of a tangent.
You know, if we're talking about the Transcendentals, beautiful.
Oh, it's a beautiful game. Like, I was gonna say, not just the art, the soundtrack is amazing.
I was listening to soundtrack on my drive over here. It's like, just the cavern. The first moment that you play is in that cavern, and it's got do 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 do, and it's got the choir,
and the credits are coming in on the screen.
And you're like, what game is this?
Yeah. Every element of this game. You point to literally any element of this game, and it's like, it's fucking great. It's a great example of how to do that well in a video game.
I have a few things that might contradict that.
Okay, all right, okay.
So we get the premise of the game. You go through this. We talk about all these kooky characters. Obviously, those are boss fights.
Yeah.
Most of them. Great characters, by the way.
Yeah. Otacon pissing himself.
Yeah. Meryl. Did you find in the Easter eggs where you get to see her in her panties?
No.
Oh, you're not a real gamer.
Wow.
Psycho Mantis, fantastic. Sniper Wolf.
Okay.
Great characters. And then, so, you know, the premise, you infiltrate and everything, and then there's a million twists and turns, which we just can't go through all of them. But we'll get into them.
They'll kind of come up as we start talking about the themes.
Yeah, they will, exactly. What was I about to say?
I thought you were going somewhere with that. I thought you had something you were going to.
Oh, I know what it was. So the game has so much charm. The writing is so good. The game looks just fantastic. The voice actors are great. All of this, and this is maybe my favorite game, which is really, and this stuff is so good that take me seriously when I say the gameplay is not super good, really.
It's all right.
I
don't know, dude.
Super good.
The thing is, it's hard for me to compare because I played Metal Gear Solid and then went back to Metal Gear.
Yeah.
And it's like, holy shit, was Metal Gear Solid good. Like after playing these older ones, it's like, wow, he really advanced. But you're right.
I've played Metal Gear Solid twice in the last 6 months. And I played it, you know, with my wife not that long ago, and I was like, man, this is great. I love this game. And I played it again, and it's like, I gotta do that part. Okay.
Yeah.
There's another sentry gun with the camera. I guess I'll throw a chaff grenade again. And toward the end of the game, it's just, there's some parts that are like a slog. Like, I got the PAL key. Now I'll just enter it. Oh, but I have to go back to make it a different temperature to get the second. Oh, let me just go back to where I was. That's a lot of fun.
So the party's talking about you have to deactivate the nuclear launch code with a key that is actually 3 keys based on what temperature the key is, which also, by the way, is all a ploy because by doing so you're actually activating the nuclear launch code.
Whoa, twist.
Yeah, what a twist. Which was like kind of set up and you should have assumed that anyway, but who cares? It's a twist. It's cool.
Testament to the writing, every twist is like foreshadowed. When you play it again, you'll get it.
Too much. But because you should have seen it coming. But so that part of the game requires you to backtrack to an area that was cold and then go put the key in and then backtrack to an area that was hot, or maybe the opposite order, and then go put the key in again. And it's kind of like, this is something I've noticed with Kojima and in the older games too. It's like he'll have an idea and it's like, wow, Kojima, that's really clever. But like, did you have to make it take so long?
Yeah.
You know, it's like he really wanted to like, let's make him really appreciate how clever I am. It's like, Kojima, I get it, but
yeah. It just becomes let me go back again. Oh, there's the room with all the cameras again. Let me throw another chaff grenade to disable them, and it's just
the one part that got to me is like doesn't age that well is the torture scene where Revolver Ocelot, who works for the terrorists, who at this point we know are headed by Liquid Snake, is interrogating you for no reason, almost, because he wants the code from you, which you don't have. So he's tortured, which you don't really think about in the moment. But he's also threatening to kill Meryl, the at this point love interest in the game, if you don't if you don't give him the information. But if you give it to him, like if you don't give him the information, he'll let her live. And if you do give him the information, which is what he seemingly wants, then he'll kill her. But you, of course, don't give him the information because you don't have it, and so he kills her. But it's convoluted. But the point of it is you just button mash really hard to get through this section, and that is what determines what ending to the game you get, is how well you button mash.
Are you telling me that part hasn't aged well?
Yeah.
It is perhaps the most genius part of that game.
Okay, why?
Because you're there with Snake. So you have to button mash. This is the hardest button mash of any game of all time.
Dude, I thought I was good at button mashing with like Mario Party and shit.
Yeah.
No.
You're not. This, like, Snake is there chained up on a torture table, a big evil torture machine, having these volts shot through him. And you have to. This is a whole arm button mash. I can reliably do it. I can't reliably do it.
I've done it before. When
you gotta do it with the whole arm.
When I played it in high school, I did it.
Yeah.
But recently, this
you're getting old.
No. I might have a worse opinion of it now because my controller, the button sticks. So it was impossible. Like I couldn't do it.
All right, but let me. So what's so genius about that is that if you fail, you fail.
Yeah,
you actually it's not like
it has consequences.
It really has consequences. You actually have to physically become tired, hurt yourself to play this game.
Yeah.
And get the ending that you want. It's genius. It's actually the medium is the message right there. Like I don't think in any video game have I seen a better use.
It's interesting too. I didn't think about that, but it is an example of like tearing down the wall between you, the player, and the character you're playing.
Exactly, yeah.
So okay. It's probably just that I couldn't do it this last time.
Yes, it's because you're a winner.
Although, to be fair, I was still, even when I could do it, when I did it in the past, the ending where you fail is better, which we'll probably get into.
Let's talk about that now. Because before we get... You don't want to talk about that now?
Well, I don't know, because it's hard to talk about that. We're talking about the ending, and there's still things that we don't know about, Liquid Snake or but we can talk about it now.
Let's talk about it now.
Okay.
So, because in order to get to the themes, we got to know what happens.
Sure, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and the ending of anything is very important. So, spoilers, I guess, for this game that was made 23 years ago. So there's the two endings, one in which Meryl lives, and one in which Meryl dies. And you escape the base.
Meryl being the niece of Colonel, what's his name?
Roy Campbell.
Roy Campbell, who is your commander for this mission, and she infiltrated the terrorist base and has been helping you or trying to along the way, and a love interest has developed between her and Solid Snake, the main character.
Kind of. You're close.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. It's clearly supposed to be a love interest, and it's the most... the character development is not there. It's the weakest part of the story.
Yeah,
the love interest there is very weak.
Yeah, if you're looking for romance, that's not really the one to get into. But especially if you... So anyway, she's not the niece of Campbell. She's the daughter.
Oh, right. And that's the twist, isn't it?
That's another twist.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
And she also didn't infiltrate the base. The troops there revolted, and she was stationed there, which the Secretary of State knew. So Look, there's a lot of twists to this game.
Yes.
But anyway, there's an ending where Otacon escapes with you, who's the greatest character in anything ever.
Otacon is the scientist who developed Metal Gear, which is the nuclear not nuclear weapon, but a weapon that shoots nuclear weapons from anywhere in the world.
Yeah, it's a bipedal tank. This is a Japanese game. You should assume there's a giant robot in it.
So he developed that, but regrets it. He somehow didn't know it was being used for nukes, which is bullshit, it seems, but that's what he claims. And he becomes good friends with Snake, which is much more earned than the love interest.
It is.
It is so much more believable them becoming best friends than the love interest.
So I've done both endings recently. Mm-hmm. So you only know the Otacon ending.
No, I've done both recently. I went back. Yeah.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Did you watch the end credits for both?
Yeah, aren't they like almost exactly the same?
There's some big differences.
Oh, I don't remember the. Okay, I didn't notice.
So this is and they're important for the theme. So I think I need to mention them.
Okay.
So in the Otacon ending, it's great. They're broing out and they say, "We're gonna start our new lives, man."
Yeah, like this.
I'm done with this.
This
shit.
is where we live life. We choose life.
Yeah, and it's great.
Yeah.
And Snake feels bad because he failed Meryl and everything, and now Meryl's dead.
Mm-hmm.
And Otacon's like, you have to just move on. Like, you can't be dwelling on the past. And it rocks. If you save Meryl, it sucks. It's just like,
yeah, no, it's terrible. I thought you meant after that, the credits after that being different. But no, that part is terrible with Meryl. It's just like we're gonna maybe I'll start living for someone else.
Yeah.
Like, that sounds nice. Like, I think it's so cheesy and it doesn't feel earned.
Unfortunately, that's the true ending. But the Otacon ending is better. But there's a big difference that changes. Both things change thematically, what they say to each other there.
Sure, yeah.
But also, the after credits of Otacon's thing is short.
Yeah.
He says, they still don't know who I am. But in...
Oh, that? I didn't even... Oh.
Yeah, but after the credit, there's the phone call that you hear Revolver Ocelot talk to some unnamed person.
The president, I thought.
Yes, Mr. President.
Right.
But in the Meryl ending, it's longer. And he mentions that... So, Liquid Snake and Solid Snake are twins.
Right.
But one is inferior.
Right.
Snake.
I forgot about that. You're right.
Actually, the inferior thing, because we're going to be talking a lot about genes.
Yeah,
I think, in this episode.
I forgot about that.
So that's very important, thematically.
Yeah.
And also, he ends with Mr. President. This is, which fucking how cheesy is that? A whole conversation at the end. Oh, all this intrigue. I wonder who he's talking to, and he ends. See you later, Mr. President. I'm just. What? But before that, he says no one knows that you're the third of the Les Enfants Terribles project. So Mr. President is also a twin. Of Solid Snake. That's not as important thematically.
It's just insane.
But that's just a testament to how crazy this game is and how good it is.
Yeah.
But yes, genes.
Yeah, you want to get into the themes?
Let's get into the themes of genes. So there's a big... I know, you were telling me before we started, you didn't talk too much about the genes thing. The big thing everyone's really going to take away from this game is genes.
Yeah, absolutely, because it's the most obvious theme, and it's really... Kojima really nails it. Like, he explores a lot of different aspects of it.
How do genetics affect who you are as a person and your life, and there's explorations of destiny and fate.
Right.
Yeah.
So the thematic setup when it comes to genes is this. We should start with Liquid Snake. Liquid Snake is in charge of the terrorists.
He's the main villain.
He's the villain.
One of my favorite villains in anything. He's so evil.
And he stands thematically for genetic determinism. The idea that your genetics determine everything, who you are, what you're going to do, how you're going to act, all of it is determined by genetics. And he, because of that, is trying to fulfill the ambition of his father, Big Boss.
Who he's a clone of.
Father, kind of, yeah.
That's important to say.
Yeah.
He literally has those genes, literally.
So he is trying to fulfill his ambition of creating outer heaven, which we'll get, that's a whole other thing. But he's trying to do that simply because he believes that it's in his genes and he is destined to do so because of that. Despite the fact that he despises his father and wishes he was the one to kill him. Solid Snake actually did kill him. So he represents genetic determinism, whereas as the hero portraying the view that Kojima wants you to walk away with, Solid Snake represents not like the opposite of genetic determinism, like being in charge of your own destiny despite your genetics. And so that's why Solid Snake goes against his father by killing him actually in the game before, and then reinforcing that killing by killing Liquid Snake, who's doing the same thing, and then also being the inferior genetic clone and still winning in the end.
Yeah. That's the theme of genes. And we can talk about all these different ways it's explored.
Well, it's interesting. Guess. I think it's interesting, a few of them. For instance, like Otacon.
Otacon's a big one, yeah.
He's seen as he's genetically cursed because his grandfather was one of the people who made the atomic bomb, worked in the Manhattan Project.
Yeah.
And now he's making a weapon of mass destruction. There's also Naomi, who is one of the people who work with you on the mission.
She's one of your support crew.
And on the
Great
radio.
Character.
Yeah. And her whole motivation is to find out who she is through her parents and her genetics.
Yeah, she's a genetic scientist, and she reveals she didn't know her parents, and she wants to know who she is by looking into genes.
Which is why she's a genetic scientist. That's why she got into it in the first place. And yeah, so all these aspects, but the end, unless you have something else to say about the genes, but the way the game ends is literally a monologue telling you genes do not control you. Choose life.
Yeah, it's kind of right in your face.
It's really right.
That's why I'm saying, you could do a whole thing, like a whole video essay on why it's about genes, but it's like.
That video essay is the end of the game. The end of the game just tells you, genes don't determine your future. You need to choose to live life on your own terms. It's a big monologue that it says everything you need to hear.
So now I guess our job is, and there's a lot of themes we're going to discuss, but probably the main one, the most in your face, is that one.
Yeah.
Can we say if that one sends you to hell or not?
So yeah, the idea. So yeah, that's the main takeaway of the game that everyone's really gonna get when they play it. And will it send you to hell? No. I mean, genetic determinism is not true. Not not just at a moral level, but at a scientific level,
which they didn't know in the game.
They didn't know at the time, but now, except traditionally they did know from. But we've talked about before epigenetics. Although I think in the podcast we talked about it in terms of offspring. But it's worth mentioning also, if you're not aware, epigenetics is the study of being able to change the expression of genes, which we now know is possible. And that by making certain actions, the expression of your genes will actually change. Which means you are in no way locked into fate by your genes.
Yeah.
We know that even scientifically now, and of course morally we know people have free will. So having a message at the end of the game saying that genetic determinism is wrong certainly wouldn't send you to hell. That's a good message.
It is a good message, yeah. It might not send you to heaven because your parents could be great. And you say I can go ruin my life. It's you can, I guess, but maybe don't take that too far.
Sure. In this case, it was Snake acting against terrorists. So at a basic level,
and also the U.S. government.
And the U.S. government. So at a basic level, it doesn't seem like it would send you to hell. So I'd say I'd say it's a good message. Not like it would send you to heaven, wow, what a great moral message. But it's pretty good. I would put it on the side of would send you to heaven.
Really?
Yeah.
I think it'd probably be more good than bad. You know?
Yeah.
How are we doing on time? You wanna get into more themes, or you wanna do a little shill time?
We can do a little shill. That's fine.
Little shill time.
That's fine.
There's my phone. All right.
You're gonna start singing the Kirby's Air Ride merchant music.
All right. You wanna explain what we're doing here while I get this stuff pulled up?
I don't remember what we're doing.
Look, this podcast operates on the value for value system.
Oh, right. So if you enjoy what you're listening to and what you continue to listen to, then however much you enjoy it, put a number on it, write that number on the right side of a check, and send it to us. That's the if you think it's worth something, then please give us something.
It's really as simple as that.
I mean, if you don't think it's worth anything, then stop listening. But if you do think it's worth something, then then we would appreciate the money so that we can continue to do this more often.
Look, it takes time.
It does take a lot of time.
It takes a lot of time.
Especially when we're playing video games. And shit
yeah. And we mentioned this on the last thing. If you want us to talk about longer shit, if you want us to talk about Final Fantasy XIV, which we already did today, it'll send you to hell.
But, there might be
grease the wheels a little bit. Send us in some money. We'll have more time to talk about more shit.
If you really were desperate, like, I need to know what they think about Final Fantasy XIV, then give them an amount of money where I can look at that and say, like, yeah, I'll spend 1,000 hours of my life for that. I wouldn't do that.
Put a number on it.
But yeah, put something, make an offer.
Like, I know last week we had an email from someone who wants us to do Homestuck. Look, that's a fantastic idea. That's a big commitment.
Yeah.
And I have a wife and a child. So I got to justify the time spent.
I want to point out, I don't remember what their name was exactly, but that
Vriska.
email... Vriska, right. That's a character from Homestuck. I should have noticed that. Their entire email was a reference... Like, I haven't read Homestuck, but it's a pretty famous character, and, I feel dumb for not having caught that. It was obvious. So just wanted to put that out there that I'm not that fucking dumb.
So what we're doing here now, that was the shill part. Now this is the listener engagement section.
Yeah.
Look, so
check that off the checklist.
Yeah. So for now, send us some notes. We'll read them for free. But this is temporary.
Well, yeah, we're gonna. So if somebody sends us money attached to a note, that's obviously takes precedent over people who don't send money. And if there's a lot of notes, then some of the ones that don't have money sent aren't going to get read unless they're particularly good. So also, if you don't have money, this is just worth mentioning. If you don't have any money, legitimately you don't have any money, then sharing the podcast with your friends who perhaps do have money would also be appreciated.
That would be value.
That would be... Yeah, I mean, if the value you put on the show is not monetary, but is rather an effort, then that's still, a fair trade.
No, it absolutely is. If someone wants to send us in show art, that's great. Any way you can offer us value. I mean, whatever you have, we will take. Please. So the first email is actually from Vriska again.
Okay.
I wanted to mention this. So... All right, this guy, he's writing the whole thing. I get he's doing a Homestuck LARP now.
Yes. Yes, that is what it is.
I'm not going to read. This is a long email. This is 3 paragraphs. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm sorry.
You said long and then 3 paragraphs. That's not that long.
I'm just reading them all on the show. But the gist of it is I don't have very much cash, but I do have cryptocurrency. Can I send you that? Yes, I'm gonna make a wallet for you. This guy wants to send in basic attention token, which is my personal favorite.
It's pretty good. Yeah, I like that. Crypto, I made some good money on BAT.
Me too.
I 4x my money on BAT. Yeah.
Yes, crypto is another way you can send us value. Next email. I'm not gonna. Thoughts on cinnamon? Sorry, that's the whole email. I'm not gonna read that one.
I don't eat anything that's not meat.
Read this one. I'll let you read this one.
Okay. Important question from Matthew yesterday. Hey Dalton, how big's your cock and balls? Question for Dalton only. Why'd you make me read this?
Look, that's between me and my wife. But that being said, large.
Wow. Okay.
No, there's actually a good one I wanted to read. Here it is. Question for the podcast. This is Matthew's real one.
Okay.
Hey guys, it's your boy Matthew. This time, instead of a suggestion, I have a question for you both.
Was the cock and balls thing a suggestion?
I think that, and you just hear me out. You wanted the suggestion was to talk about my cock and balls. Are there times when you feel like your faith is tested? If yes, what do you do to affirm your belief in God? If no, what would you suggest people do to be as resolute as you are? I realize we haven't mentioned so far, this is a Catholic podcast.
We have not yet mentioned it this episode.
Yeah.
We've mentioned cock and balls before we mentioned that.
It's important. So, all right, this week we're getting nothing. I got nothing about Metal Gear Solid. No one talked about Metal Gear Solid.
Which is crazy because so many people have played it, I'm sure. So nobody had anything to send in about.
Well, there's one. we'll get into that one. I
Oh,
got
okay.
one that was about Metal Gear Solid.
Oh, all right.
But I'm getting a lot of faith questions.
Okay.
Which tells me that the Catholic Zoomer angle we've taken was a good one.
Okay.
So, anyway, Matthew wants to know, are there times your faith feels tested, and what do you do if so? Do you want to answer this first?
Yeah, I guess.
What do you do?
Well, to answer the first part of the question, are there times when my faith feels tested? To a large extent, I'd say no. Because like, people come to the faith in different ways, and like, there is a way to the faith for everyone. Whether like you could be stupid enough that you can't even understand like a catechism or the Bible or what. I mean, the Bible is actually very hard to understand fully. It's impossible, right? But you know what I mean, like where you really can't understand it, but there's still a way for you to come to the faith through like beauty or through like good works or like whatever.
Yeah. Or you know what? In an ideal world, your community.
Right.
That's what would ordinarily
your family or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah, whatever it is. There's still a way for that, and God will give you the graces to hold fast in that faith. But personally, I did not come through it in that way. I came through it like I had kind of an intellectual conversion. So before I ever even became Catholic, I made 100% certainty in my mind that like, yeah, this is the truth. Or at the very least, before I even started, like, yeah, nothing else is the truth. You know what I mean? That was the first thing. Was like, well, yeah, none of the rest of these make sense. And Catholicism, every question I've asked, it has had, like in the teachings of saints or like Aquinas or like Chesterton or something, has had a good answer. So there's not really times when it's like, man, I don't know if Catholicism is correct or if God really exists. It's like, no, I've already kind of had those questions answered for me.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily have times where it's like, oh, I don't know if this is... When I have a crisis of faith, it's more of like specifics. Like I've had time when I battled with like certain vices where it's like, God certainly exists. Good and evil certainly exists. The thing I'm doing is certainly evil. I do not know if I can stop doing this thing. You know what I mean? Like a different kind of crisis of faith, which is still a crisis of faith because you have to have faith in like the goodness of God and the graces that He's giving you, and you know what I mean. And so to get over that, you have to kind of, you obviously have to pray about it. And one thing that I did, which I'll recommend if you are a baptized Catholic, because it involves consuming the Eucharist, which you can't do if you're not a baptized Catholic in a state of grace, but you can offer up the Eucharist when you receive the Eucharist, and offer up both the Mass and the offering of the Mass for a certain intention. And I had it recommended by a priest. You can offer that up to
the merits that you gain by doing so.
You can offer up the offering. You make your intention in your mind like while the priest is doing it. You can also do it beforehand and ask your guardian angel to do it if you forget at the exact moment. But you offer up the intention for the purpose of something in particular, but you can generally say that like God, I want you to enter into my heart and to heal my heart and my soul. And even if it's like painful or they're like every part of me, I want to be better. And you ask for that. And doing that was actually like what like put me on like a right path in like everything. And like I solved like a bunch of like long. Also had like repressed memories and shit that came about right when that happened. So you know, like be ready. But they were not pleasant. But like that really like set me straight. So if you are a baptized Catholic and you can do that, then that is absolutely what I recommend.
But you can always pray.
And you should always pray, yes.
You can always pray. So, are there times when my faith is tested? There used to be. Constantly. Mm-hmm. Yes. I kind of came to the faith the same way as Michael because Michael convinced me. But I'm kind of like, I'm like the Jews being let out of Egypt. I'm like, I get it. This is amazing. There's a pillar of light leading me through the Red Sea, but like, kind of sucks sometimes, man. I don't know. You know, it's just like I see all these miracles, and it's like, but I don't know. You know, it's just all this concupiscence is what it's called. But I don't have that anymore because every night I was like, God, just give me the faith. Like, I can't do this. So pray. Michael had a really long, cool answer, but like, yes. Yeah, I don't anymore because the glory to God, he's given me the graces where now it's like, oh, obviously this is real. And also, if you look around in the world today, geez, seems like Catholics are the only people who have their heads on straight sometimes.
Yeah, and that's another thing. What do you have?
Everything else just seems so crazy, where it's like, kind of like what you said. I don't know if this is real. Everything else is for sure false.
Yeah, that's where I started. Yeah.
You know, so it's I don't really get tested anymore, but that's how you'd overcome it.
I would say the only other time that I would have a crisis of faith is a more specific, like it is easy to get upset and carried away when you see like the hierarchy of the church or someone in particular like doing something that is clearly against the teaching of the church. Like I definitely understand why when the Pope says something or sometimes is merely quoted as having said something that he didn't actually say, but both happen, to be clear. Something that's like bad or that is against the teaching of the faith. And he's not saying it ex cathedra, but like it's still like worrying. I understand why people like apostatize or go into schism or go into the SSPX or so. Like I get it. And that's the more kind of crisis of faith I've had more like anytime recently would be like, dude, I mean, like the Pope just seems to. So a lot of times I'll read it and it's like he didn't actually say that, but it's like, wow.
Well,
if the Pope said that,
we know he's not like excommunicating certain bishops, like in
Germany.
Oh yeah. Like there are things
there's a lot of
about
inaction.
Yeah.
that is bad, and like, but the thing is, like, you have to realize that the Pope is not like people. It's like the people who think the Pope is the most important are like non-Catholics who think that Catholics worship the Pope. Yeah. It's like, no, the Pope can speak ex cathedra, in which his, like, that's it, his word is law, basically. But even when he does that, it's really just clarifying something that's always been taught for all time.
Yeah.
So anything the Pope says that's like, wow, that's crazy. I've never heard any Catholic say something like that. It's like, well, then that's not ex cathedra. I can basically guarantee that. There's other ways you can tell, obviously. But,
well, also,
but still, it's worrying to see this sort of thing.
Christ himself said the gates of hell shall not prevail.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
If I believe in Christ, then it's not.
It
really
just
a big
is
deal.
easy to get emotional about that kind of thing, and then ultimately, the way you get around that is just to remember that the gates of hell will not prevail against it, and that like we've had worse popes, we've been through, and ultimately that we deserve it. Is something that I think about a lot. Is like a good pope, good priests, good bishops is a grace from God, and the laity, that being the non-priests and such in the Catholic Church, if you don't know, then we have been like unfaithful generally, everyone has been very unfaithful, has abandoned the masses, have let like people will complain about like liturgical abuse at the Mass. Which again, for non-Catholics listening to this, they might not know what I'm talking about. But for instance, like doing things like treating the Mass in a very flippant,
in an irreverent manner,
in an irreverent way, and they'll complain about it, which they're right to do. And it's like a lot of times though, it's like that's happening at your parish. Why did you let that happen?
Yeah, so
and it's like, oh well, I left to a parish that I thought was better. It's like, okay, so you abandoned. Yeah. You know what I mean?
People complain about Vatican II, but one of the points of Vatican II was to have the laity more involved, and we've just completely let it down.
Oh yeah, that was supposed to be one of the. I don't know if it's actually in the document itself. I have the document. I've read some of it, but it's long, and it's like a lot of it is just the laity. There was supposed to be a bigger focus on the laity, and the laity dropped the ball. Like the laity has absolutely dropped the ball. And so you can't, it's also just the idea of, we are the times. I think Augustine said that. People complain about the...
St. Anthony the Great, I think.
Was Anthony the Great? Okay. But the quote, anyway, is very good, which is people say that the times are bad. We are the times.
Such as we are, such are the times.
Exactly. So it's like if you think the world is bad around you in any way, it's like you need to first, remove the plank from your own eye because...
Clean your room.
Clean your room! Because fundamentally, the filth you see in the world is just a mirror held to the filth inside your heart. Like if you jack off, I cannot take any complaint you make about anything filthy in the world at all. Like, you haven't fixed the fundamental, like there's a I guess just to sum it up is like, if the reason things, it's not even just that it's hypocritical for you to complain about something without fixing yourself. I'd go further and say the reason things are bad at all is because you, in particular, personally, you are a bad person. Like if you both personally and all of us together fixed our lives, then the world would be better. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, there's also, I think there was a pope who said, all the problems of the world are caused by bad Catholics.
Probably, yeah.
Which is like,
yes.
Yeah, it's especially bad with Catholics because, like, you have no excuse. Like, you should know what's good and evil, and you should be doing what's good. So it's like, yeah, he makes a good point. But anyway.
Next email. Thanks. Good question.
Yeah, good question.
This guy messaged me on Discord. He seemed to be wanting to stay anonymous. He put his Discord name at the end, but I don't know if he won't. I don't know. I'm not gonna. He's anonymous.
Just don't read
it.
It's fine. Yeah. If we're unsure, we will go on the side of we will not read your name at all.
I would like to thank both of you for making a great, funny, and interesting podcast. All right. Okay.
Thank you.
Will It Send Me to Hell is one of the only podcasts that I listen to while I write. That's weird.
Seems distracting.
It is also the only movie podcast that I listen to. In addition, I have sent it to some friends,
than just movies,
and they say they love it, even though they are all Protestants. Wow. And to end this, I have some requests for Will It Send Me to Hell. Evangelion, obviously.
We have to.
Fight Club, obviously.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Joker, obviously.
Joker is like too obvious. That's the only reason we haven't.
We thought about doing that like first.
It seemed
like,
too on the nose.
Yeah, we can't do that one first.
Yeah.
Elfen Lied. What is that? Do you know what that is?
Elfen Lied, actually, German.
Okay.
Well, the title is German. It's an anime. It's an older anime. I never saw it, but it was pretty big when I was like first getting an anime.
And Fallout New Vegas.
Oh, dude, Fallout New Vegas. That's a good one. Hard to really talk about the morality when you choose your own kind of ending. So it might be impossible to talk about, but very. Yeah. That would be either an impossible episode or a 7-hour long episode.
So he says, some of these I haven't seen, but please watch them first because I don't want to be sent to hell. Finally, I would like to wish you both of you and your family good health and good luck.
Oh,
well, thank you very much. And just on the anonymity thing, a lot of housekeeping. This is a new podcast. A lot of housekeeping. If you want to be anonymous and if you say you want to be anonymous in the email, I'm not going to read it. Like we said, if we're not sure, we don't give your name. If you want to be really careful, people didn't know about this. You can get a throwaway email. I know.
There's that. You can use a fake email. You can also just put in the fucking subject line or like the first line of the email. Do not read my name.
Yeah.
You know.
This is the next one from Joe Sinkwitz. Hi there.
Hi there. I'd like to remain anonymous.
The subject. You're gonna like this. The subject line is reaching out.
Okay.
I was like, this is bad news. Whoa. I came across your YouTube channel and was wondering if you ever do product reviews or influencer campaigns. If you do, Joe Sinkwitz, what? You didn't listen. We don't do advertisements.
That's the whole point.
Joe Stinkwitz.
Joe, listen. We operate on the value for value model, which means if you find value in our podcast, you give us what that value is. The purpose of doing it that way is that we will never have advertisers controlling what it is we say. No, we will not do product placements, Joe.
The YouTube channel has 26 subscribers. How did he find us?
He's the Scott Pilgrim vs. the World fan.
He must. I don't know.
That's wild, dude. We're getting on somebody's radar already.
Okay. The next one is completely anonymous from a Gorilla Mail account.
Oh, okay.
This is also lengthy.
Well, is it good? I mean, I'm fine with having it read.
It's a Metal Gear Solid fan fiction. It's called Metal Gear Solid 6: Inner Heaven.
Well,
I don't want to read the whole
I don't
dialogue
that sounds
between
like
Snake and the Colonel.
That sounds like it might spoil later
It doesn't.
games.
I read it.
Oh.
He put so much work into this.
Is it worth reading like a snippet or something?
No.
Like, what do you mean no?
It's so long.
I mean like a snippet.
All right.
What is it about?
Colonel says the Vatican miracle examiners have been reporting an uptick in real miracles. And Snake says, real miracles? The Colonel says, yes, Snake, real miracles. The uptick in the occurrence of miracles has worried many in the upper echelons of the Catholic hierarchy. They fear that this uptick in miracles is a precursor to the events of Revelation and the suppression of the Church. As such, they seek to plan for the future. To prevent the invasion of Vatican City and thus protect the Pope, they are building a Metal Gear.
This sounds great, dude. I don't know why.
I'll send it to you.
Yeah, I want to read this later. This sounds good.
It's long. Power is a zero-sum game, Snake. If the Vatican is allowed to finish their Metal Gear, it will greatly
This is where
increase...
real-life footage is playing?
Yeah,
like, of the Vatican?
It will greatly increase their diplomatic power, which in turn decreases the power of the United States. As a U.S. citizen, Snake, you must defend the interests of your nation. The Vatican must not be allowed to finish their Metal Gear. But if the United States is planning on suppressing the Roman Catholic faith, the Vatican will not attempt to use its newly acquired power. The United States isn't planning on cracking down on Roman Catholics, are they, Colonel? Colonel ellipses. Snake says, Colonel.
That's classic.
That's classified information, Snake. I'm not at liberty to discuss any details.
Okay, this sounds amazingly well written, and like he has down. That is how the conversations, the writing is in Metal Gear Solid. He has it down.
Next email. Thanks for sending that.
That was really good. Yeah, I'm going to read that later. Thank you.
All right. Jammy writes in, this isn't related to Metal Gear. Of course it isn't. But I have a question. How do you guys deal with the world and the knowledge that you have, since sometimes I feel almost subsumed by madness when I look at the world and I think that nobody cares and I ask, what can even be done? I hope you two are doing well and find great success in your podcast ventures. Thank you. Also, has Michael read Gothic Violence?
I have not yet.
And Dalton, how is it living in a new faraway land with your family? It's great. I actually just ordered my copy of Gothic Violence the other day. Yeah,
I need to read it.
So I'll be getting it soon.
So Gothic Violence is the second book by the author Mike Ma. His first book, Harassment Architecture, is perhaps my favorite book of all time. So I will be reading Gothic Violence, but I've not.
We will be doing podcasts probably on both.
That's actually a good point. We should do it on Harassment Architecture because despite it being one of my favorite books, it could send you to hell.
It might, yeah.
We
might want to discuss that one. Okay, so how do you not become subsumed by men? Like we just said, it's kind of a similar question, I guess.
I think he's also...
Different questions, similar answers. It's improve your life. Jammy,
yeah,
let me ask you a question.
Let
me ask you a question, man. Are you lifting weights? Are you taking care of your body? Mm-hmm. The first thing you have to do is take care of your body. And that's going to make you feel a lot less insane right off the bat.
I think one thing is you need to have a frame of mind. And this can help a lot of people with a lot of things. If you have a frame, you can do... This is an autistic example, for instance, literally autistic. There are people who... There's an example of the guy, you've probably read like the fucking green text story online, of the guy who did not know how to talk to women, right? Like just didn't at all understand how to do it. And was extremely socially awkward. Then he watched the movie Drive, and then he just started acting like, what's the actor's name?
Ryan Gosling. Yeah.
Ryan Gosling. He just started acting like Ryan Gosling in Drive in all of his everyday situations, and he got a girlfriend. And the story ended up ending where he like. I think he was going to show the girlfriend the movie, and he was like really scared of what was going to happen if she saw the movie. But the point is, because he had a frame, he was able to like it all made sense. And even though that's an autistic example, if you can do that in your life, it can make things it makes it much easier. Basically, modern man is...
I have no idea where you're going. This is insane talk.
Okay. Modern man is frameless. There's no foundation to who you are. And so it's so easy to get lost in just the minutia and the madness of everything, because it's like, what am I? What am I doing? What do I do with all this information? What do I do with...
What are you fighting for?
What are you fighting for?
What am I fighting for?
But so the point is, like, in the past, you would have said, like, well, I'm a Frenchman and I'm a Catholic and I'm fighting for God and for country and you know what I mean? Like you had this purpose, but now since you don't, you kind of have to make the frame. And one of the most valuable for like a religious person and also somebody who's like exists outside of normal sort of like he's saying, like you feel like
someone who's red pill.
You feel like you're fucking crazy.
Yeah.
You have to. A good way to view yourself is like a pilgrim in a hostile land, because that's fundamentally what
you're in enemy territory.
What you are. You're in enemy territory, and that's something that like Venerable Fulton Sheen talks about, and like a lot of people talk about. But that like the world is
Matthew 10:16. Behold, I am sending you as sheep in the midst of wolves.
Exactly. Like the world is enemy territory. Like all of it, really. The world is even one of the three great enemies of the church, you know? So you have to realize, and if you realize that, it all makes sense, because if you think like the world is just perfect, or you have some weird conception of the world, it's going to fuck with you. You have to realize that you are in enemy territory. And so
and there will never be heaven on earth.
No, there won't. It will always. You can only make an outpost, and that might be the way to think of it. Imagine yourself. You are in enemy territory, but you are creating a outpost of goodness and of happiness and of like of goodness, but also of preparedness. Like you are in a war zone. You need to be prepared for what's around you, but also slice out your little piece of heaven, I guess you could say, but that's a little too far maybe. But and if you think about it like that, it can help frame things, because otherwise,
you're watching the news and you give a shit about stuff happening all the way across the world, and it's like
you shouldn't watch the news.
That's not really your fucking issue.
Well, and it's like if anyone trusts the news still, it doesn't. There's the old.
All right, we're getting off track.
Anyway, you should focus on you should get a frame.
Be Drive.
And don't be Drive though. But like you could But you could read about like some old crusaders or about the people in the Vaude fighting against the French Revolution, and like model sort of your morality around obviously model your morality around Catholicism, but that's why if you pick a good Roman Catholic, then there you go. But model yourself around Christ. But if you have a good frame, it will help. And then ultimately, your frame should focus on like fixing your own problems first. Focus on yourself.
Go lift weights, buddy.
Yeah, like
eat right.
Do what you can control first of all.
Yeah.
And making a good life for yourself. And if you do that, then worry about like your local elections or some shit.
Your life has to be pretty stinking good before you start worrying about that shit.
You should at least have shit figured out.
All right, next one. This is the last one. This is a good question, by the way. That last one was good too.
It was good, yeah.
We're getting some good questions. Not about Metal Gear.
Not about Metal Gear.
I'm very illiterate regarding theological matters, so you may be able to help me with this. Is my excess of ambition and greed going to send me to hell? Yes. I have always been of the thinking that the best way to serve the Lord is by both creating a positive personal environment, but also by accruing and generating resources which to put to good use. However, from working and applying to ever more demanding jobs, I'm feeling like in the end I'm going to slave my life away for economic gain, and that it will corrupt my original purpose. See, you're answering my question, pal. And that it will corrupt my original purpose of building a family or putting the money to good use, as the pressure of working stress and unspent capital resources become more of a temptation in a world filled with supply and demand for vice. Why are you asking me this? What should I do to remain in contact with the Lord in this journey and not stray too much from my priorities? So I guess you have a personal issue with greed, with making more money.
Mm-hmm. Very common.
Yeah. What do you do? I mean, just don't worry about it. I mean, so you have to maybe think about how many hours you spend in a day working, in a week working. How much is for you? How much is for spending with your family? How much is for reading good books? How much is for prayer? And if the work is extending too far into that, you just have to take less hours. You have to take a hit. Quit your job. Get a completely different job if you have to. Because you got to think, what's worth it? Is getting a nicer house worth it? Or is your soul worth it? I mean, you're saying you want to accumulate more resources to put to good use toward God, but that's not the number one thing God needs.
Yeah.
Or that your soul needs.
I'd say, yeah, first, on the resources thing, it's like fundamentally prayer and good works are always going to be more valuable than money.
Yes. Yeah.
And like some of the most influential figures of all time were not that way because they were rich, right?
Saint Francis.
I thought of Saint Francis
nothing.
as well.
Saint Francis of Assisi. Nothing.
One of the most influential people in church history is Saint Francis.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he took a vow of poverty. Fundamentally, that needs to be on the forefront of your mind. Is that like if you think money is how you make an impact on the world, it's just not true. I mean, even if you look at secular examples, like Gandhi wasn't rich. He clearly had a big impact on the world. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Money is not the answer to that. But also, you need to have your priorities straight as far as like what are you being called to do by God, and that might take some discernment if you haven't like really looked into it. But generally, some people are called to great things, but the way you're describing it is like you're almost trying to get these resources primarily for your family, and it's like, well, the priorities come family first, right? Like, well, not family
exactly,
first. God comes first, but family would come before money. The money is simply to help the family, and people don't understand this. It's kind of like a modern misunderstanding, is that any child in the world would rather have you around more often than more money.
Yeah, exactly.
They've actually found, even in monkeys, that this is the case. They've found that a baby chimp would rather have a hug from its mother than food, even when it's starving.
Wow.
And it's because fundamentally that is more important.
Yeah.
So, and it's this, it is not different for humans. Like, it would be better if you had a holy family that you spent all your time with, but you were poor as dirt, than if you were rich and they all went to hell.
Mm-hmm. I just, and you might have to get weird with it. I am currently unemployed. I quit my job. I kind of have a job lined up, I kind of have two jobs lined up, but like, there were a lot of days of this job that I just quit where I would leave the house before my kid woke up and I would get back when he was back in bed. And it's like, I don't care. Like, I don't give a shit. This is a horrible way to live. I can't be doing that. And you might have to make really uncomfortable moves like that.
Well, and there's the aspect, like, that's not something you're doing long term because eventually you have to pay the bills.
Yeah, well, you guys are going to be paying the bills pretty soon. Hey,
yeah, well, okay.
Help me out here, buddy.
But the point is, like your priorities should be straight. And so if like sacrificing to provide for your family, even if that requires you to be out of the house for a long time, is still good. Mm-hmm. But you have to always be asking yourself the question, like, if you're working 60 hours a week, it's like, is this really necessary to provide for my family? The answer is almost certainly no.
I personally think the 40-hour work week is even immoral. I think that's...
Well, it's not immoral.
A lot of cases,
see, the thing is, you could work much longer than that if you were working from home with your family.
Yeah, exactly.
On a fucking farm or
I think the whole world is set up.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. Dropping out of society entirely is probably the best thing you could do. In which case, if you come to a conclusion like that, where you say like, you know, hey, I don't think this is going to work unless I'm like a fucking independent landowner, farmer or something, then at least you have a goal. You can say like, okay, well, I'm going to work, but strictly for this goal, and I'm still not going to, you know, work 80 hours a week or something and not see my family at all.
Yeah.
But it's a matter of priorities, and you need to realize that your family would be better off with more of you rather than more money, and any money you make is just because of your higher priorities.
So it's not bad to make money. It's pretty good to make money in general, but as long as those priorities are straight. If they're not straight, bad.
Yeah.
Very bad. Extremely bad. All right, that was the last one.
Okay.
What are we watching next, Michael?
Oh, yeah, next we're watching the movie Pig.
And is the next episode going to be next week? Are we going to weekly?
No, I don't believe so.
You want to do it in 2 weeks?
This is a movie, so we should still do 2 weeks. I don't know.
I can do next week. I
didn't think about it. Yeah, it's a movie, so let's just, at least for this one, let's try next week.
All right, next show is going to be next week. Get in your emails. What are we watching?
We're watching Pig, featuring Nicolas Cage. I don't know who the director is.
Starring Nicolas Cage is his first movie. I forgot his name.
Nicolas Cage?
No, Nicolas Cage. It's great.
This is somebody's first movie, directorial
Yes.
debut? Oh,
Yes.
Cool.
It's a movie taking the world by storm.
Yeah, it's getting pretty popular. Dalton watched it to see if it was worth like talking about.
Yeah.
I haven't watched it yet, but that will be the next episode. Dalton says it's worth talking about. So
Yeah. So watch Pig. Send in your thoughts about Pig. I'll take all. That was really fun. They answered those questions. It took probably 90% of the podcast, but
well, I
good.
mean, not as much as you think, but yeah, it was, yeah.
But they were good questions, and I'm glad we talked
were,
about
yeah,
it.
yeah.
So send in your emails about anything, but really try and make them about Pig. And don't do Discord or anything. If you're worried about being anonymous, use a fake email. Okay, let's get back to the show.
All right, yeah. I think you had something to say thematically, like you were going somewhere. You said like, oh, I'll go into this, but first.
So there's. Well, I got a few little ones that I kind of wanted to mention. One of them being revenge is bad.
And how is that explored in the game?
Well,
I'm not sure.
Sniper Wolf wants revenge for people attacking the Kurds. She just kind of wants to kill.
She's Kurdish.
Yeah, she is Kurdish herself. Psycho Mantis wants to kill as many people as possible because his father hated him.
Mm-hmm.
Revenge, bad. What else do I have? So the whole reason that Naomi got into... Naomi has been on a search for revenge for Gray Fox.
Mm-hmm.
That turned out bad. Like, there's all these examples of revenge being bad. So the main thing about the game is the genetics, right? But there's also a larger theme about just the past, what came before. Genes,
True, yeah.
Revenge, history.
Family.
Yeah, family. So revenge would kind of be thrown into that, I think. But the big topic that I wanted to discuss in terms of will it send you to hell, not the main theme of Metal Gear Solid, but like the secondary theme, is nuclear weapons. And nuclear weapons and kind of technology in a way in Metal Gear Solid are kind of presented as a second original sin.
Interesting. What do you mean?
Like, it's like nukes have come into the world and have just affected everyone and kind of made everyone more dangerous. like everything's more dangerous now that there are nukes there. And a lot of this, like, it's explored through the dialogue. Let me see. There's a Kaczynski note.
He's flipping through his notebook
find. Yeah, I'm desperately trying to find this thing that Mei Ling says.
An old Chinese proverb.
Well, I actually wrote so many quotes from this. My notes are worthless. Snake is Sigma male. I didn't need to write that down.
It is interesting that you say it's like an original sin because a little bit of context for the background of this game, because there are two games that come before it, Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2. And I'm trying to save Dalton right now. But so
yeah, just there's stall.
Well, it's interesting because in Metal Gear 2, the premise is that nuclear weapons have been completely gotten rid of in like the 80s. Like, there are no nuclear weapons anymore. It's like a warless utopia almost. And now these terrorists are like bringing... They find some of the nuclear weapons that haven't been gotten rid of entirely. And now they're the only nation in the world that owns nukes. And so they're a huge fucking threat. And it's interesting where it's like a cat out of the bag situation where like, oh, fuck. Now these guys have nukes. So now we all need nukes again. And because by the time Metal Gear Solid comes around... It's just like regular timeline of the real world. Like, oh, everybody has nukes again. So it's interesting to look at it from that perspective where it's like, well, now that one person has been evil, I have to protect myself.
That's exactly what nuclear weapons did in history.
Yeah, exactly.
One guy's nukes, now everyone has to have nukes.
It's funny that in Metal Gear, though, it happened twice. In the Metal Gear universe, that happened 2 times. Like, we got over it, and then it started again.
So I have the Mei Ling quote here, which you only get if you save at a certain point.
Yeah,
interesting.
Okay.
She's the person you call in the codec to save, and she was in reference to Otacon and Gray Fox, who's a cyborg ninja. You're that ninja. So Mei Ling said, so she's an engineer, right? She designed all these systems that you use.
Right.
And she says she became an engineer because she wanted to make things to help people.
Yeah, I got that one.
Just like Otacon did. And then he made a giant nuke robot. She says, maybe it would be better if us engineers just stopped making things.
That is kind of an interesting, because that does play into a lot of the game.
Exactly. That it's just everything's ruined because of nukes and because of technology. It's just dehumanizing everyone.
And where do you think the game stands?
Which is why the villains are animals. That was a joke.
Oh,
but
no, that's interesting. Because all the villains are named after animals. One of them's a fucking Native American.
Vulcan Raven, yeah.
That's an interesting little tidbit. I don't know if it means anything, but it's interesting.
They've been dehuman. I said that it's a joke. I think that might make sense.
I mean, the main character is still Snake, and he fights on the other side. But other than that, all of them
hasn't he been dehumanized?
Well, yeah, but we're saying that they've all been dehumanized.
Wait,
they're fighting against it.
No, and Naomi, right? Mm-hmm. Who's your support and kind of is doing more behind the scenes than you think to kill these people. What's her last name, Michael? Tell me.
Hunter.
Think about that one.
Names. The names are interesting here.
Yeah. But anyway, the whole theme of nukes, how that would send you to hell is, it would actually send you to heaven. Thinking about nukes as being extremely bad. I did some research into this one because I was kind of being an American and being the son of a veteran. I was thinking nukes kind of made the world a whole lot safer in a lot of ways. We can't have all these big conflicts anymore because of wars and everything, right? So I was wondering, is the anti-nuke message of this good?
Right.
Yeah. So I kind of looked into what the popes have done and what they've said since. So I have a few quotes that I wanted to read. This is from Pope St. Paul VI. Any war that indiscriminately aims at the destruction of entire cities or vast regions and their inhabitants is a, quote, crime against God and humanity itself.
Yeah, so clearly reference to, it seems, I don't know, this would have been post-World War II.
This was 1978.
Okay, yeah. I thought he was long past World War II, but I'm not 100%.
Yeah.
I didn't live through that Pope. But he's clearly in reference to us nuking Japan.
Yeah, so then I thought, okay, obviously using them is wrong. But maybe having them in a kind of deterrence would be good. But no. Actually, every pope since World War II has been pro-complete disarmament. Current Pope, Pope Francis, says nuclear weapons are not only immoral, but must be considered an illegal means of warfare. Let's see. Let me get a disarmament quote for you. JP. All right. I got so many quotes. Give me a second. Let me pull this one up. JP2 himself talked with Reagan about the SDI project. I don't know if you know about that. That was you can shoot a rocket at a rocket. It's the future. That's where
nice dude.
You can intercept
everything.
You can intercept nuclear weapons in the air.
Yeah. That's a real thing that we can do now, right?
Yes.
We do it with a laser now, though, I think.
Yeah. But hence rendering nuclear weapons completely useless. Reagan actually specifically went to JP2, who last episode we said that Benedict was the Polish guy. It's John Paul II. I don't know how we messed that up.
And no one pointed it out?
Someone did. That's how I know.
Oh.
Alex did.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Disarmament quote. Here we go.
This is so sloppy, Dalton.
I have so many quotes.
Why didn't you write this one down?
So a lot of people will tell you, this is important. This is another misconception about popes that people have. Some things that I was reading said that John Paul II actually was different than all the other popes because he said having nuclear weapons as deterrence was okay. Wrong. He says, like peace, quote, like peace, the world wants disarmament, the world needs disarmament. In current conditions, quote, deterrence, based on balance, certainly not as an end in itself, but as a step on the way toward a progressive disarmament may still be judged morally acceptable. That's how people say,
makes
like,
sense.
oh, deterrence, he says deterrence is okay. No.
No, yeah, not really.
As long as we're moving away from that. Nonetheless, in order to ensure peace, it is indispensable not to be satisfied with this minimum, which is always susceptible to the real danger of explosion. And I'm realizing now I don't need to read every single quote that I have. I have so many quotes.
I mean,
but you should know. And DM me if you said, nah, you're cherry picking quotes. I have so many quotes. Well, I was reading encyclicals.
And there are reasons to think, because fundamentally the argument for nuclear weapons, especially for instance like their use in World War II, where they were actually used, is a numbers game. What do you call it when you value human life? Utilitarian. It's a utilitarian point of view where people will say like, oh well, we killed X number of Japanese with nuclear bombs, but many more would have died on both sides if we had invaded Japan. And it's like, yes, but that's completely different. Like morally, numbers of dead because people have this idea that that life and dying is so bad and must be avoided at all costs that just the number of dead is what makes something better or worse. But it's like, no, a war has an honor to it.
Yeah.
Like you fighting the other side and your soldiers fighting their soldiers has an honor to it, an honor that has been lost more and more with every generation since like the French Revolution. Mm-hmm. But it at least still in its essence has an honor. And when you are indiscriminately bombing civilian centers, you have taken all honor out of war, and you've taken all morality out of it.
I got quotes that say that.
Oh, interesting. Cool. I'm on the same page.
Yeah, as the popes.
Cool.
As some of the popes who are saints.
But it's like you've completely taken the morality out of war. Like war can be moral. Yeah. A nuclear war cannot.
I guess we should say that too. See, I've gone so far beyond. I think like obviously using nukes is immoral, but a lot of people aren't even on that page.
No.
So I'm glad you said that. I was kind of more towards the whole mutually assured destruction. Is that bad? Mm-hmm. And that's a bigger question.
Yeah.
Because it did kind of, ensure a lot of peace, but it's unchristian.
Yeah. I think that's what's been established, at least in how the popes have talked about it.
Yeah, is that you don't treat your enemy with "I'm going to kill you" if you do anything. Like that's not a Christian way to treat your enemy. You pray for your enemy, and all the popes have advocated for negotiation. Let's just talk this out and not point millions of nukes at each other.
Yeah, and it's also like it leads to something like the Cold War, where fundamentally one of two things is going to happen,
which was predicted right after World War II. I didn't get that quote. Mm-hmm. One of the popes said, like in 1965, that this is just going to lead to terrorism around the world.
Yeah, it's going to lead to terror. It's going to lead to terrorism, but it's also going to lead to either
mistrust everywhere.
Yep.
It's a virus that's going to go throughout the whole world. Where just mistrust.
And that's not even what I was going to say, but those are very true. But also, it's going to lead to either one of the countries with nuclear weapons either dissolving, or there's going to be nuclear war. Mm-hmm. Or neither of those will happen, because in the meantime, we're just going to have an endless Cold War.
And that leads me to another point from the popes that I should have sorted these better. Anyway,
embarrassing.
Yeah, it is embarrassing. The main thing is,
well, and it's
all the money we're spending towards the arms race, which they've all been against the arms race too, by the way, just everything in general.
Yeah.
Could have been spent on the poor. Maybe improving your country, maybe making things not as fucking bad. It's a huge waste of money, and they say that the arms race is only going to be a detriment to the poor, most of all. They're going to be hit hardest by it, and I think they were.
Well, and it's interesting to think about... Oh, I lost my train of thought when you went on to that.
When I started talking about taxes?
Yeah, dude, I'm fucking mad about taxes. They should stop.
Yeah.
We didn't have them before.
Yeah.
The U.S. didn't have them.
Now we do.
Now we do. And
you really lost your train of thought, buddy.
Yeah, no, I don't remember what I was going to say. Do you have anything else to say about nuclear disarmament or nukes in general?
Yeah, the theme of nukes bad will send you to heaven.
Yeah, nukes bad. Nukes, I think, not nukes as in nuclear power, however.
No, nuclear power is completely different.
Which is very good.
Yeah, nuclear weapons.
Nuclear weapons.
Yeah, you should be against those, even in terms of deterrence. They're still bad.
Yeah, there's just so many aspects of like even if you think on paper it makes sense, there's just, you can see the fruits of it and see that it's had such it's completely. Here's another thing. I think there's a very good argument to be made that we are even currently still living through the effects of the Cold War and having to fight wars that are not fought with weapons. Mm-hmm. Like, we are still living through psychological warfare, whether from, like USSR remnants or some shit like some people say, or just our own country.
Yeah.
And or some other third party, but
or both.
Or all of the above. Mm-hmm. But it would have been better. I think I'd say this. Morally, it would have been better if there was like a World War III. Like, nuclear weapons were never invented. Mm-hmm. So we've had more wars since then that were just wars. Instead of this psychological demonic warfare. Like there's actually now demonic warfare where countries will try to make other countries, their enemies, immoral, such as the U.S. government going into Middle Eastern countries and airing pornography over the airwaves, or like similar. They do this kind of thing. That is not. It would be better to kill them.
It would absolutely.
Killing them can be a justified action in warfare, but like trying to make them immoral is demonic, like literally demonic. You are doing what demons do, which is you are trying to send these people to hell. That is infinitely worse than just going to war and having your soldiers fight their soldiers and losing lives over it, rather than losing souls over it. And because both sides could go to heaven in war, right? And I think in many cases in history, when two Christian nations fought each other, both sides very well may have gone to heaven. This is much worse and is a direct result of living in an environment in which open warfare can't happen. It would be better to have open warfare.
I agree. The soul is more important than the...
Exactly, the soul is more important than the life, than the actual body living. Yeah. But do you have anything else to say about it?
No.
Oh, do you have any other themes you want to...
No, revenge is bad. I don't think... Okay. Yeah, that's a good theme.
Well, then I had one theme that I wanted to touch on. I've been thinking about this a lot because there are parts of this game, the overall story, when I looked at it, that like didn't quite... It's like clearly the genetics and nuclear disarmament is like a big...
Those are the two main points
genetics,
of the
especially
game.
Because it makes like a big point about it. Although it makes a point about nuclear disarmament too, because it ends with it saying like how many nukes are still left in the world.
1998, 26,000 nuclear warheads still exist in the world.
So it does make a point about that for sure, but it makes a very big point about genetics. Everybody knows about the genetics. And when I was thinking about the game, it's kind of like there were parts that didn't quite add up. And so I started thinking about this and figuring out. So, like for instance, like the motivation. I have to kind of explain a couple things to make this like clear.
That's fine.
But the motivation of the main villain is to establish outer heaven, and now he's just doing that because he believes it's his genetic destiny to do so, because his father was doing so, who he shares his genes with. But still, fundamentally, he is trying to establish outer heaven. And what outer heaven is, at least based off of what I've seen, I'm sure it comes up later in later games, but from Metal Gear Solid and also the two games that came before it, outer heaven is like a mercenary state, or at the very least a safe haven for soldiers around the world. And it is, and the purpose of it being established is because the governments of the world use the soldiers in times of war when it's convenient to them, and then throw them away when they're either not necessary or not convenient anymore, or it's a time of peace and those things, and they're not necessary or convenient. And the game goes out of its way to show that the villain is very justified in thinking this way. Snake himself, Solid Snake, is betrayed, is lied to at the end of the game
by his government,
by the U.S. government,
that
he is both a citizen of and is working for directly,
and has been
for a long time. And he's loyal to them. He is betrayed by them. He's lied to them. And at the end of the game, they almost kill him just because it's more convenient that way. Mm-hmm. Not only that, but the major thing that they're asking for, that the terrorist, that Liquid Snake, in charge of the terrorist, is asking for, is not just money. You know, he's making a nuclear threat.
They want $1 billion.
He wants $1 billion. But before, the $1 billion isn't even mentioned, I think, the first time. What they really want is the remains of Big Boss, who they were genetically cloned from.
Yeah.
But also who all the genome soldiers were cloned from.
Those are the grunts in the game.
The grunts in the game.
It's a stealth game. Those are the guys you hide from.
So they also bring up that the U.S. government, another example of it taking advantage of the soldiers, during Desert Storm, genetically modified the soldiers in these experiments to make them into super soldiers, which instead had the effect of giving them like massive genetic disorders, which is by the way is based on a real event, which is called
Gulf War syndrome. Yeah.
Gulf War syndrome, where all these soldiers, their kids had genetic deformities, and they blame it on like certain chemical weapons and stuff like that. I think is what they blame it on now. But Kojima blames it on trying to create super soldiers, and so all of these soldiers have these genetic deformities, and Liquid Snake's primary goal is to get Big Boss's DNA to cure what he calls his brothers. Mm-hmm. Something that the United States could at any time do. They could at any time fix all of these American citizens and American soldiers who fought for the United States government that they experimented on. They could fix their genetic deformities. They won't. So Liquid Snake,
it doesn't benefit them.
Because it doesn't benefit them.
Yeah. So
Liquid Snake is doing it. He is, and so I was looking at this and I'm like, Liquid Snake is extremely justified in his actions. Like, he might even be the good guy in a lot of ways. Like, he's wrong about genetic determinism, but his ultimate ambition, which is really the ambition of Big Boss,
he's about to launch a nuke.
And his methods are maybe not the best, obviously. But he is also up against a nuclear power. So what does he have to do to you know what I mean? But so he seems sympathetic, and it's like, okay, when it came to genetics, Kojima clearly set up a clash of ideals where Snake represented the side that you're supposed to root for as far as not genetic determinism, and Liquid was the bad guy. So in this way, I'm like, okay, I'm thinking about it. Snake must also, with this theme, which is huge in the game. Like, you cannot deny that the idea of like the government taking advantage of people is a big theme of the game. Mm-hmm. So Snake must in some way embody the opposite of Liquid and show what Kojima wants you to root for, seemingly. But you think about it, and like, why is Snake fighting Liquid Snake? There's no reason. He does not have, there is no point in which Snake says, what Big Boss was fighting for is wrong. Mm-hmm. Never.
It would benefit Solid Snake to join.
Yeah.
Liquid.
Well, but not even that. It's not just like benefit, like a personal thing. Like Snake is very aware, especially by the end of the game, that the government feels nothing for these soldiers. He should be as sympathetic as anyone. He's also seen all these people, the boss characters die, many of which have been like taken in by this. They're like outcasts who've been taken in by this organization, which is just symbolic of what Outer Heaven would do.
Yeah.
And like, Snake should understand that more than anyone, but he never has like a moral face. Like, for comparison with the genetic aspect, he directly says like, you can't let your genetics control you. Like, he addresses the theme. Mm. He does not address this theme. He only is fighting Liquid Snake because he was given the orders to do so. That is and he doesn't even like the people who gave him the orders.
Yeah.
He'd rather be in Alaska. Well, he's in Alaska, but he'd rather be at his home in Alaska with his dogs.
He says, Snake says, "I'm just a man good at killing.
Yeah.
I have no purpose."
That's a very important quote, because I'll come back to another quote. Mm. So I'm happy you said that. But so I was thinking about this, and I'm like, it really doesn't make sense. Like, Kojima clearly had this theme in mind, but it's not resolved by the end of the story. So I was thinking, like, okay, is there anything else in the story that like kind of isn't resolved that can help with this? Because I come into this with the expectation, if I think that something is a work of art, then every piece of it means something, either intentionally or like death of the author, not intentionally, but it means something. So I was thinking, is there anything else that doesn't really make much sense? And one thing is that Psycho Mantis, when you fight him, it's important how you're addressed during that phase, because he's a psychic in the game, and he is demonstrating to Snake what his psychic powers are. And he says, I think he says Snake, like he's talking to Snake, and he says, let me demonstrate my psychic powers. And then he says, put your controller on the ground, which means he's clearly talking to you, the player.
Yeah.
It's another instance of, like we said before, like it's breaking the wall between you and the player. So I was thinking about that, and then also like the end of the game when
we should say too, and it uses the controller vibration.
The controller rumbles in real life, like in front of you.
Yeah.
And that's him using his psychic powers. And he also like reads your memory card and like comments on how
if
often you save.
Castlevania, it'll say, oh,
you like Castlevania. And then also at the end of the game, the whole monologue about like living your life is also clearly being like preached to the player. Like it's not really being said to Snake. Yeah. Like it's being said to the player. So there are parts in which the game is directly addressing you, and it's doing it about themes. Like at the end of the game, like it's telling you this is what you should take away. So I was thinking, is there something about the government taking advantage of soldiers? Is there something that is being addressed specifically to the player? And so I was thinking about it. And it's like, just like Liquid Snake is a slave to genetics. Fundamentally, like really, I've said fundamentally too many times, but really, Solid Snake is a slave to the government. And that is not a resolved issue in the game. And when you think about like them breaking down the wall between Snake and the player, I think Kojima's purpose was, and also, a minor thing, really quick, also the way that the genetic aspect is so clearly played out, like spelled out for you at the end of the game. But this aspect, which is equally big part of the game in its themes, is not. I think Kojima wants you to question that, and especially with the breaking the wall between the player and Snake, you're supposed to come to the realization, I think, of like, Snake is a slave to the government. He does not have a reason to be fighting against Liquid.
Yeah.
Like, no reason as a stat. Maybe he has one, but it's never established. But
he tells Otacon he'll tell him what he's fighting for, and he
never does.
He doesn't really.
Yeah. But he doesn't really have a reason. He's just doing it because he was given a mission. Like you were playing the game. You were just given a mission. You play the, and I'm not saying that that Kojima expected you to, like, the moment Campbell betrays you, like, I'm putting the controller down, I'm fucking done. I'm not working for these people. Like, that's schizophrenic. But it's to make the realization that, like, I am Solid Snake. I did exactly what he did. I did the mission that I was given. And so the takeaway is supposed to be not to be, just like you shouldn't be a slave to genetics, you should not be a slave to the governments and the hierarchy and like just what you're told to do. You also can't be a slave to that, which is a lesson that not even Snake learns until possibly at the end of the game. And this is like the big, so if you look at the game from the genetic perspective, then the big resolution is the very end, where like they tell you that it's about the genetic and like you know. But if you're looking at it from this aspect, being a slave to like society and to the government, then the big resolution, and it makes this scene like so much more powerful, is when Gray Fox dies. Because Gray Fox, you got to remember the background of Gray Fox. He was your friend in Metal Gear, the original game. He wasn't a big character.
You don't have to play the original games to know this. But it tells you in Metal Gear Solid 1.
It does tell you, but this is important stuff. In the first game, he has like only like 4 lines, but he works with you. He's on your side. Then in Metal Gear 2, he joins Big Boss and fights to make Outer Heaven and fights against you. And you kill him, but he comes back in this game as kind of like a $6 million
man. He's a cyborg.
Exactly, a cyborg. Yeah. But, so he says in his dying moments to Snake, I have it written down. He says, the word choice is extremely important here, I think.
See, look at you. You got it so easy to find.
Well, I only have 1 page of notes, so. But These are the exact words he says, and I think the words are very important. He says, "We're not tools of the government or anyone else. Fighting is the only thing I was good at. But at least I always fought for what I believed in." Now, here's the thing: two things to keep in mind. One, this is the guy who fought for outer heaven. Mm-hmm. He fought to do exactly what Snake is trying to stop at that moment. And second, he says, "We are not tools of the government." And then he says, "At least I fought for what I believed in." This line is a direct confrontation to Snake, saying when he says we're not tools of the government, he's saying we don't have to be tools of the government. We don't have to blindly follow orders. And his example is, "At least I fought for what I believed." I mean, he doesn't say, "At least we fought for what we believed in," which he easily could have said. It would have made perfect sense. "At least I fought for what I believed in." He's telling Snake, what are you fighting for? You're just following orders. I had an ambition. Big Boss had an ambition. We're trying to make the world a better place. You are just following orders. And so that is the big moment where as the player, you're supposed to ask yourself, what am I fighting for? Am I in my life basically just following orders? Or do I have a purpose in what I'm fighting for? Because when you look at it that way, Snake is the villain. Liquid has a thing he's fighting for. Gray Fox has something he's fighting for. Big Boss, who's dead but is a big player in the game in other ways, has something he's fighting for, and he's trying to make the world a better place. Snake doesn't. He's just fighting because he's good at killing. Mm-hmm. He needs to find what he's fighting for. And I think that's like the ultimate message of the game.
You have a beautiful mind, Michael.
Well, thanks. I think it's all there. Like, I don't think I'm making a stretch. I don't
think it's a stretch. I mean, it's not. I'm glad we talked about the genetics thing first, because I think that's what most people are going to take away.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think all the subtext is there.
Oh,
because I have all those notes about the government stuff, but it's like I couldn't square that circle.
Exactly. That's where got me started, was like, it's all important, clearly, and it's leading somewhere, but what does it lead to? And I think this is what it leads to.
Because it's constantly, you're being betrayed by the government.
And yet he keeps fighting for them.
And yet you keep fighting. At the end, the Secretary of Defense says, "I'm going to bomb you." And then Snake says, "Oh, but I actually have the test data. Are you still going to bomb me?" Or no. Jim says, like, "I won't bomb you if you have the test data." And Snake says, "No, I don't have it." And he says, "All right, well, bombs away."
Yeah.
You know, he's just whatever.
And it's because Snake is a slave. And so in that way, he's, in the genetic aspect, he's the good guy. Liquid Snake is the bad guy.
Yeah.
In the, like, slavery to the government aspect, Snake is the bad guy. Liquid is the good guy.
I think, in terms of that's a good, that turning point makes sense too. Where Gray Fox dies, he says that, because I guess at that point, Snake, he doesn't keep following orders after that. There's not really any more orders for him to follow.
No.
But where he might have learned, where that lesson might have been learned, would be the Colonel at that point. Because then the Colonel sacrifices his entire career to delay the bombing so Snake can escape.
That's a good point. Yeah, it's even...
So the Colonel, I mean...
The Colonel who listens into everything going on.
Exactly, yeah. He knows this.
It's like, it's almost another punch in Snake's face, where, like, Gray Fox fought for what he believed in.
Yeah.
And then after hearing that, even the Colonel,
who's like been betraying him constantly, just not like out of malice, just because
he's given orders,
a rube, yeah.
Yeah. So even the Colonel then changes his way and fights for what he believes in. So Snake, you have to find you have to fight for what you believe in.
Yeah.
And the player, you have to fight for what you believe in.
Now, would this message send you to heaven or hell, Michael?
I think it would certainly send you to heaven. Because, like, I mean, you do need to... Now, what you believe in should be moral, obviously. And there are varying degrees of that when you talk about Liquid Snake and Big Boss, how moral it is. It's But certainly you should never just follow orders. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I think it would definitely send you to heaven. I think it's a good message. I think Kojima is actually... It's interesting, too. This is maybe too far into just sort of, I don't know, into the weeds, but... Or into the reeds?
It's weeds.
Yeah, it's weeds, yeah. But Kojima comes from a Japanese background, but this is a very Western-styled game.
Yeah.
Japanese culture places the highest importance on like the greater unit, like the society, the family, whereas Western culture, especially how he must see it, places the highest value on the individual.
Exactly.
So it's very interesting that his message about not blindly following orders, he as a Japanese man chooses to couch that message in one of the most Western games that a Japanese man could make. And it's almost like that's how what he identifies that message with. It's a little point, but I think it's interesting.
Yeah.
It's not a samurai doing this. You know what I mean? Although it is a half Japanese man, which is
What's the other
interesting
half?
as well. Of Solid Snake?
Oh,
Solid Snake is half Japanese.
I thought you were talking to me.
No, not Kojima. No.
Kojima.
I think Kojima's
He's
100%.
a very Japanese man.
I think he's 100% Japanese.
Yeah, that's right. The blood of the East runs in your veins.
Yeah. Snake is apparently half Japanese. I don't know and half American, I guess.
Do you like the game? Is it a good game?
That's a great game, yeah.
Great game.
I think it's really good.
Yeah.
And the story is just like the more I thought about it, the better it is, which is a sign of good art.
It's such a testament to the game, how good it is. Like the writing and the voice acting and the themes. Like it's high-minded. It's a high-minded game.
Yeah, it is.
And the graphics and just all the work that went into it, because the gameplay is just pretty all right.
It's true. Yeah, it's like masterfully. It's Kojima could have probably been a pretty good director. I'm happy he made games because I think he probably does better at this.
Yeah.
But almost ironically so. But yeah, it's very good.
Yeah.
And I do not think in any way will it send you to hell. Really, not anything we've discussed at least.
Yeah, unless you're playing this all Sunday, go to mass, people.
Well, yeah. I mean, after mass is fine.
Yeah, I mean, you play this after mass.
Or if I guess if you see, here's the thing. If you get the message and you're pumped up, you're like, yeah, what the fuck am I fighting for? Yeah, I'm not following orders. And then you're like, I'm going to fucking commit acts of terrorism. Okay, cool down. Maybe, but I'm not going to like completely rule out acts of terrorism. We live in quite a society.
Look, strange times.
But, contact your local priest and ask him what he thinks and get a second opinion.
Maybe read what Aquinas says about that before you do anything.
What did Aquinas say about terrorism?
Look it up. Google that.
Actually, that's the thing. We looked into some of that about like the morality of like killing public officials and stuff. And he says some surprising things. Yeah. So with that call to violence,
it's a call to read. It's a call to read, Michael.
Reading is violence, Dalton.
Yeah. Well, thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed the show. I will know if you enjoyed the show when I look at my PayPal balance in a week.
That's how you can give us your real opinions.
Yeah, honestly, yeah. If so far the show is worthless.
That's what I hear.
It might be worth $5 worth of bat.
That's pretty good.
So,
that's not bad.
$5 worth of bat is going to be worth
$20.
If we're lucky, man. So yeah, thanks for listening. Send in those emails. Please donate. Send it around. Share it to your friends. Look, you're probably all broken.
Even your Protestant friends, apparently.
They love it.
Yeah,
they love it. Listen to these Catholics enjoying video games.
Send it to all your Metal Gear Solid friends. They're big fans.
They might not have gotten the theme.
It's true.
The one that you talked about. I knew all the genetic stuff. I played all the games. That makes so much sense. What you said?
Thanks, dude.
That makes it. Good job.
Thanks. I say thanks, but really you should thank Kojima.
Thank you, Kojima.
Yeah, thank you.
Domo Kojima. Oregato. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Yep, see you.